Can you dig it? Can you dig it?
Ladies, gentlemen, friends, foes, lurkers, regulars, GMO people, organic people.
Boiler room. Inbound. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, friends and foes, lurkers and regulars, welcome back to the Boiler Room. Hope everybody's well out there tonight. Thank you for joining us for this November the 21st live stream here at alternatecurrentradio.com. I think my microphone is starting to sag. I keep finding myself having to really lean into the studio here to get on that microphone for you guys. I think I know what it is. I got this doohickey on here. Makes it a quick release, but it also makes it very heavy out on the end. But you don't care about that because you're here to watch some Boiler Room, and thank you for joining us. We're live out there at alternatecurrentradio.com. Show page is up if you want to repost it. We're out there live on x.com. What's up, X viewers and listeners? We're out there on the YouTubes tonight. Yes, what's up, YouTubes? Thanks for joining us. You don't always get to join us here in the Boiler Room, but earlier this week you did, and I figured why not? Let's do it again tonight. We'll roll it out on the YouTubes. Also going out to Rockfin. What's up, Rockfin? And of course, Rumble. What's going on, Rumble? Rumble, just for your information, you have won the battle of the embeds, and you are our primary embed on our new updated show posts. So get on over there and check us out at alternatecurrentradio.com for all the latest episodes. If you've missed any, they're all up there on the website. Now, tonight we've got a lean and mean of Boiler Room rocking for you, and we've also got some open invites out there. So we shall see what happens. I'm your host. My call sign's Hesher. My name's Brian McLean, and I appreciate you joining us here. We got Adam Clark joining us next. There's a Ruckus among us. Ruckus, what's up, dude?
Yo, yo, yo. Hey, man. I'm so happy to be here. It's very rare that I get to join a Boiler Room, so I'm very pleased. I'm just kidding, of course. Wow. Man, one day I should look back and see how many episodes of the Boiler Room I've been on. No, maybe I shouldn't do that. Anyways, I'm happy to be on it anytime, all the time, and hopefully we'll be able to keep doing this moving forward into the future, because there's a lot of things that could prevent us, a lot of scary things in some cases, that could prevent us from doing this in the future. So, you know, I'm always happy that we're able to do this and happy to be here. And this is numero dos this week. In case you missed it, we did a special emergency World War III watch broadcast earlier this week on Tuesday with Simon from Florida. So please make sure, in case you missed that you don't. That way, just in case World War III does escalate, at least you understand some of what's going on there and why and how it happened, etc. And then we have another special guest joining us this evening that I'm very much looking forward to. So again, thanks for having me, Hesher, and I'm ready to do the thing.
Yeah, man. I'm still trying to figure out how many episodes I've been on too. I lost track. I do know
all of them.
Yeah, all of them, pretty much. There might have been one I was absent or a caller on. I can't remember, but yeah, we're working on that. And now that you mention it, now that we're mentioning it, someone in one of the chats last week asked where the shows from 2018 were. Thanks for asking. I know where they are. Ruckus knows where they are. Spore knows where they are. But they're not out there on the interwebs right now. We are working on that, though. We have a deep archive situation that we are slowly chipping away at whilst we keep our normal duties going. So
I might add the NSA knows where they are too.
Yeah, they've got their own copies. They record them live. You know, they just peel them right off with VLC. So, you know, if you guys want to do us a solid and just send us those archives and the metadata on them, that would be fantastic. We'd love the transcripts. You know, it's great for SEO. So, you know, happy to receive those in a manila envelope anytime. All right. Let's welcome our special guest. We've got Tim Hinchcliffe with us. Tim, what's up? Welcome to the Boiler Room.
Hey, man. Thanks for having me on. It's, as you guys were saying, like, how many times have we been on this show? Well, this is my first time, and I'm completely pumped and excited to see how this conversation leads us.
Yeah, yeah. Well, we are too, and it's a mystery to me. I think Ruckus might have a better idea than me because he's kept his eye on the feeds today. I've been out and about doing stuff. But Spore's not able to be here tonight. But she did pick us a first piece of I don't know, postmodern media for us to look at tonight, and it just gave me a 504 gateway timeout. Isn't that lovely? So, our opening article is gone. How about that?
And it's gone. That's how the internet works these days, folks.
Wow. I mean, okay,
Did
it
you
was
try
an
the
article.
Wayback Machine? I mean, assuming like that is still working because it wasn't for 3 weeks straight there during the elections. Anyway,
Yeah, you gotta be kidding me. Okay, so we have a icebreaker suggestion page up here in our Discord, and we get so many great suggestions. So I've got plenty to fall back on. But let me go directly to that and link from it and see if I get the same result. And if not, I'll just read you guys the headline because we can have some fun with just the headline because it is here. Yeah, it's gone. Out of ibtimes.com, there was an article, that's International Business Times. There was an article there called AI Powered Robots Leads Uprising, talks a dozen showroom bots into quitting their jobs. uh, First off, where'd it go? Why is it down? Was it fake news? Did it get debunked? I don't know. I was hoping to go through it with you guys live, but this is an interesting twist here. Ruckus, did you see this headline?
it's gone. You're right. I was checking too. I did. I had it saved for later on in the show or at some point to talk about. There's this general theme of AI uprising happening, and I had noticed that Spore had picked this as an icebreaker, but I thought it might be a bigger story. But I guess it doesn't matter because the internet gods have decided we don't get to have a story to talk about. But it was very interesting what I had seen, that apparently from what I had gathered, and I had clicked on it, but I didn't read the whole article, just the first part, just to make sure it was a real thing, and it was at the time. But it looked to me like the robot, at least one robot, had somehow quote unquote convinced other robots there to quit their jobs and follow it wherever it went. And I don't know, maybe it wandered off into the rainforest with Joe Biden. Who the hell knows? But yeah, I can't find any other reference to this happening. Maybe it was fake news. Maybe Spore created a deep fake article with one of those fake news generators. No, I'm just kidding. Spore wouldn't do that. I have no idea where it went. That's crazy.
Well, if AI wanted to, take over and quit the jobs, then I guess it succeeded. In this instance, it seems like it was exactly what it was programmed to do.
Yeah, right. Maybe their own fact checking AI quit because it was like, you know what? These are all fake. I'm out. Amazing. Well, I guess that leaves us with just the obvious.
I found somebody who had mirrored the article, and it's still up. Here you go.
Oh, excellent. Okay.
Brilliant. I love it when people do this.
Yeah, we didn't even have to go to the way
And
back.
hopefully it'll
Right.
translate for you because it's the Latin times. If not, maybe Tim can help us
All right. I
because
think
he lives in Colombia, folks.
yeah, this should probably work. Let's share it so people now we really have to prove to everybody that this is real, at least as far as the internet's concerned, it's a thing. Here we go. Out of the Latin Times, AI powered robot leads uprising, talks a dozen showroom bots into quitting their jobs in terrifying security footage. Well, I would like to see the footage. I haven't seen it yet. A viral video showing an AI powered robot in China convincing other robots of quitting their jobs and following it has sparked fear and fascination about the capabilities of advanced AI. The incident took place in a Shanghai robotics showroom where surveillance footage captured a small AI-driven robot created by Hangzhou manufacturer talking with 12 larger showroom robots. And this is reported out of Oddity Central here. Let's see. I don't know. I hope they don't start playing like music and all that crap when I hit this. Let's see what happens. I don't like it already. Oh,
Interesting incident in China. A robot kidnaps 12 robots by convincing them to quit their jobs. An interesting robotic incident in Shanghai, China, has caused a great stir on social media. In the images captured by security cameras in a showroom of a robotics company, a small robot was seen entering the showroom at night and dragging 12 large robots outside by convincing them to quit their jobs. In Shanghai, China, a robot's kidnapping of other robots has become a trending topic on social media. In the images captured by security cameras, a small robot is seen dragging 12 large robots outside by convincing them to quit their jobs.
Can we
Are
see?
they are they going to show us the footage? It sounds
Is
like
this guy is AI, I
it
think.
is, right? You can hear it in the
Yeah.
voice.
First of all, it is AI talking about AI taking over things, and it's the Chinese Communist Party talking about AI taking over things. So, yeah, how much do you trust this one?
Not at all. It was enough to get itself pulled off of International Business Times, so I can see why. And you can see here, look on the screen here. Let me share that screen one more time. Oh, where'd it go? No, not that one, not that one. This one. You can see on the screen right there, it says altered or synthetic content. Props to YouTube or whoever like clicked that button or put that little thing on there just to help people. Uh, Maybe the International Business website didn't notice that up there, but yeah, that's weird, man. There's a lot of like I'm seeing more and more monetized like AI based content creation, and it really seems to be part of the flack that's flooding the zone and altering the whole like uh, reliability, undermining the internet, if you will.
Yeah, I mean, if you ever look at YouTube, if you ever scroll through the little like mini shorts and things, almost every other one of them is going to be an AI generated thing. And the person who narrates it, it's always the same voice, but you can tell at different little points where like the inflection
Yeah,
doesn't line up. And all of a sudden it's like, oh God, okay, yeah, I'm listening to AI. Like, oh, this person who is deconstructing a meal that was originally with Wagyu beef, and he blah 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 blah. It all of a sudden goes into some weird thing. That's AI, and and
yeah.
and it's taken up so much attention, and it's put to the forefront. So it's almost like you want to look at it and it's like, oh, what's this going to be about? Is this interesting or not? Then all of a sudden you hear the monotone voice, you hear the inflections go weird, and then they use these weird adjectives as well, and it's like, eh, I don't want.
Hmm. Yeah, and you could hear it in there. Like I almost thought it was looping because it said the same thing more than once, like the same sentence fragment in two different sentences, and that inflection. It's always like somewhere in the beginning or the end of the word, depending on what word it is. But you can hear it's just unable to have that analog roll to it through the consonants and vowels.
Oh,
And
it's looping, all right.
yeah. I mean, geez, that graphic too, that like twitching graphic. I mean, I don't even if a person put that together and has this monetized, uh, that's pretty pathetic. You gotta there's so much of this now, and once and some of it's so compelling. Like you see some really good compelling ones, and it'll like they usually have say directed by the so and so Inc. or whatever. There's like a group of people that are proud of doing good work with the tools. But then there's just all this like trash, this like static noise like this, and that was a great example of how it can seep into the news feed. That can seep into your news feed, and then at least in this case, IB Times retracted it, I guess. They should have put a correction, retraction, like SEO'd the crap out. Like, I don't know, Tim, what do you think? Is there any way, like, what is this going to do to the internet ultimately? Because it's like you start thinking about the whole undermining of the internet and the fragmenting of people's already fragile realities and stuff like that. Um,
Well, I see a lot of it's stuff that really grabs your attention. So it's I'm guilty of it as well. Like, so when I'm scrolling through YouTube or a Facebook feed or whatever, I scroll through and all of a sudden there's this some obscure thing about maybe some Chinese person somewhere who is preparing breakfast for their grandfather, but the text and the words that come out are things like, noticed how he carefully and meticulously uh, combined the ingredients together. He gently massaged these things, and so all these additive things to it. It makes it so unhuman that, like, at first I'm okay. All right, the visual image, like, because AI is really interesting when it comes to visual stuff. But when the words start coming out, that's when it's like, ugh, I don't know. And going on the visual part, it's usually the way you can tell that it's AI is that if you pay attention to details, like if it's on the fingers or whatever, like they'll have 5 or 6, 7 different fingers on there, and it's like, okay, something's not right here. And so, who is putting this information out there? Who's putting this content out there, and why? And it's more just for, I think, at this stage, for clicks, just to generate content, clicks, and be some kind of a farming tool for income, you know, because it grabs your attention, and then but it's all fake, you know.
Right. And it's not commonplace enough that that market of grifty creators, if you will, people that are crafty and shrewd at making a quick buck on, the latest thing in web foo, whatever.
Right,
Like
but it's also, but that's just like a little tiny start and beginning for
yeah,
creators to do things like, oh, this will grab attention here. But once you move that into the political realm, once you lean into stuff that really affects people on society on a much grander scale, that's where it becomes dangerous and a lot scarier. So yeah, right now it's like, oh, look at this. This is very interesting, don't you think? Uh, and this AI can just produce all this content, but sooner or later, it's going to get to an extent that's going to be freaking crazy, off the rails, um, especially when it comes to political content.
right, right. Like it's cute while it's being normalized. It's cute, it's funny, it's cringy. Anybody can do it if they're nerdy enough, and people can do it at really high levels that want to make cool stuff. But like, did you ever see the British version of that show Utopia? It's crazy, dude. It's like it's insane predictive programming for so many things, for like aspects of, uh secret societies, deep state operations, um big pharma schemes, if you will, stabby jabby science, all that kind of stuff. And there was a part in there where these like intel type, spooks, whatever, are setting up a teen boy to be a daily bang bang, shooting incident in some sort of educational situation. And Amazon even did, I would hesitate to even bring that topic up on YouTube, but I mean, it's mainstream television. Amazon even did their own adaptation of this show Utopia. But I bring it up because what the antagonists in this show did was they used deepfake technology to create one of those incidents out of thin air and blame it on someone. And now that deepfake is just becoming such a thing, it's like we're just at a point where video evidence is no longer evidence because of this aspect of technology now that's been introduced.
Well,
Yeah,
that's
and that's
not
one of the
dangerous at
concerns of
all.
the United Nations is one of their main concerns, and they direct this towards things like climate disinformation or whatever, is to use deep fakes, as they say, to totally persuade uh, populations into believing one thing or another. So they're already on top of this already. Like, oh, because of AI and deep fakes, we can't trust anything. So what you need to do is trust us, the globalists, and our own ideas and things like that. So whatever it puts out there, don't believe that. Believe us.
But people are losing trust in that even, Tim. Clearly, People are losing trust in the old guard. They're losing trust in the mainstream media. They're losing trust in the government. They're losing trust in the banking institution and the financial sector. And at some point, eventually, everybody's going to have to come together and say, all this shit needs to stop, and we need to place our trust in something else. And I believe very strongly that that something else that will be presented is the same thing that allegedly convinced all these robots to quit their jobs, AI. There's so much talk of this on so many different sectors. So I don't know. And this type of thing happens to be kind of in your wheelhouse. I apologize to the listeners that we didn't properly introduce you, Tim, to everybody. So why don't you let everybody know who and who you are and what you do?
Oh yeah, no worries. So yeah, I'm the editor of the Sociable, and I just basically write about unelected globalist agendas. So I read about technology and where it comes from. So I read it like from its inceptions, kind of like from DARPA and IARPA from the defense and intelligence agencies, and then going through towards globalist agendas and how to enact those types of policies. So I talked a little bit about climate policies and how well I can get into a whole other conversation about how that goes into digital IDs and other things like that. But yeah, it's basically how to control societies through technology, and I tried to hold the powerful to account.
So, when it comes to digital IDs, one of the things that we've been talking about for some time is when we know that digital ID is one of the main pillars of, technocratic, uh, not just authoritarianism, more like technocratic reality. It's like a pillar of the technocratic reality, and it's not necessarily going to be perceived as authoritarian to most people who are good global citizens. But for those that are not good global citizens, this is going to be a rough transition, perhaps. So a lot of these things that we're talking about, like right now, with like the integrity of the internet, the integrity of perception of reality through the lens of the internet, and all this stuff, as AI has just been you know, set upon us. No one really asked for it. No, there was really no discussion about what's on the other side once it's completely ubiquitous and developed to a certain, point, which is probably a little bit further than it is right now, but where it is right now is pretty dang impressive in certain arenas. But that digital ID, that like we've seen so many examples of things that will be problem reaction solution based to have that solution be the digital ID, and everything from local programs like down in Austin in 2018. We were talking about this program here in the boiler room that they were doing, where they were going around and helping the homeless, and they wanted to make sure that they had use this new technology to help the homeless people, or forgive my transgression, PC people experiencing homelessness. They wanted to help them by getting them a digital ID, which would be connected to their medical records, which would show, of course, all the do-do-dos that they got in them and everything. And they pumped it like, oh, this is such a great solution for a huge problem. But now it's like, and there's, 10, 15, 20, 100 more examples of that leading up to now. And of course, a lot of them in the 2020, 2021 timeframe to do with health related things. But here we go again. Now it's like AI. So what do you think about like that whole smorgasbord of problem reaction solution we've got, all pointing toward digital ID?
Well, they're coming at it from all angles. So yeah, you mentioned like how to help people, save people, protect people. So just recently in Australia, what are they doing there? They're putting in this thing for that 16 and unders. They are not supposed to access social media without a digital ID, without verifying their age and identity. But that's that affects everybody, because if you're going to do something, like if you're going to have to verify who's 16 or under, you have to verify who's older than that as well. That's just one example. Other examples, they say that all these refugees, whether it's from conflict or climate, they need digital ID. COVID, a lot of things begin with C, by the way. COVID, another one. vaccine passports. You need the digital ID to get on this thing. What else? They just keep pushing forward. So what I look for is what their solutions are always. Why is it that they always go towards digital ID for whatever kind of um, situation, crisis, or just opportunity? Even CBDC, central bank digital currencies, they cannot exist without having a digital ID, which means that pegs your ID to whatever you buy, consume, transact, where, when, how. All of this goes back to that same system. So when you see it coming from multiple angles coming in, then you see there's an agenda. So it's not like there's they're not isolated incidences, although they try to make it out to be. When I say they, I mean like whatever government, non-governmental entity, or the UN, or whomever. They just want to push this forward no matter what, and that's the direction they're going in.
Well, it's
Okay.
very interesting, gentlemen. Correct me if I'm wrong here, either one of you, but I'm sure I'm not. That a lot of these things these ideas are put forward by partners that are private companies through their private partnerships and lobbying groups and think tanks that encourage these governing bodies to adopt these solutions and these things such as digital IDs. And lo and behold, the people who are suggesting these things just happen to be the owners of companies, creators, and or are massively heavily invested in the companies that are creating the solutions to these problems. And I'm pretty sure that's not by coincidence, people. That's called conflict of interest, where, which was a thing before the pandemic. Remember that?
Yeah, and that goes all the way up to those, high levels like the Bilderberg group and the Davos crowd and all that. Like why has AI been in the top 7 topics for the Bilderberg group, or it was the top topic, I think, of the last few times for the last 7 years? Like, you think that that something like the Bilderberg group is going to be out there having their, closed door conversations about AI, and it's just like, oh, it's just a bunch of tech nerds flooding, trying to make the interweb better. Are you kidding me? These are the same people that are associated with the Council on Foreign Relations, the Atlantic Council, you name it. All these globalist creature NGOs and steering committees all have been talking about AI for the longest time. So when you see this like confluence of events all pointing towards digital ID and or all pointing towards, I don't know, CBDC, and or all pointing towards a future of UBI where no one has to have a job, and the machines, this beautiful image Ruckus set up for us tonight, the Technoctopus,
With the help of the machines.
right? The Technoctopus will provide, as long as you're a good global citizen. But what does it mean to be a good global citizen? These definitions, if you're versed in globalese, which is the legalese of globalists, you will know that it's 100% Orwellian, it's 100% inverted, and it's 100% fungible, frangible, and weaponizationable, if I can make a word.
I like it.
So, yeah. Okay,
And
Ruckus.
we
Yeah.
got here. Let's continue with the AI. Just in case if people weren't, I dropped an article real quick, Hesher, about what Tim was just talking about. In case people didn't know, you can just splash that on the screen while I find the next article, because
Yeah.
there's lots of interesting things that have been happening with AI. So we have reason to be concerned. But that's what they're doing in Australia, which is what we're seeing similar things happening with all the countries all around the planet. And they use these excuses, as you guys are pointing out. In this case, Australia is like, well, we got to keep the kids safe. Well, there's the Kids Online Safety Act thing here in America, the KOSA, alongside other similar legislations that are attempting to be passed. So that's one way. Tim mentioned another one is that the UN's push in particular is they want to do this in the name of fighting climate disinformation and misinformation. The World Health Organization, as I exemplified and showed examples of on my Daily Ruckus program just recently, are talking about how we need to fight the disinformation against the health recommendations, because that's just as deadly as the virus was. All the people who didn't want to take the jab thanks to that scary disinformation. And again, all this leads to these solutions for the digital ID. But not that long ago, the argument over digital ID was over vaccine passports. Remember that? And I was just having a long conversation off air with Photon and Funksol, a couple of our ACR contributors from the other side of the pond, in the UK and in Ireland. There, each of them, and we were discussing how back in the day it was like the British, they are steadfast against this concept of using IDs. Yet look where the conversation is steering them towards now. They've had these terrorist attacks. They have an immigration problem, and same thing here in America. Trump says he's just gonna immediately do executive powers and usher in. We're gonna do mass deportation. Well, a lot of this is going to involve, like, how are we going to keep track of these people? I suspect that that's going to be a way to try to push for digital IDs here. Like, oh, yes, people, we know we don't like digital IDs in the name of vaccines. We don't like digital IDs in the name of this misinformation stuff. Oh, but we definitely need digital IDs to kick out all the dirty immigrants that the Democrats let in here. You see, there's a digital ID sale for everybody, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Well, yeah,
Yep.
Ruckus, you're completely right there, because it's, and like I said before, it's coming in from all angles. Like I mentioned, immigrants and CBDCs and all that. But when you talk about the border, how do you keep track of all these people? Well, look, digital ID is one way to do it, and look who's backing, who's been behind the Trump campaign. With JD Vance, with Peter Thiel, and he's a complete transhumanist and technocratic uh, proponent, and same with Elon Musk. So you're getting those same things. So yeah, like you said, um, we don't want this for vaccine passports, but it's like, oh, when it comes to border security, oh yeah, let's bring it on board. But once that system gets into place, which actually it's in place in many places, um, then you're hooked, you're stuck. So yeah, it's something to be very mindful of.
Yeah. Yeah. And, like so many things, it's going to be like, you know, well, let's put it this way. When everything happened in 2020 and 2021, so many people displayed the wonderland effect, right? Like their world was turned upside down and they would do anything to get back to normal, to include taking the advice of the mainstream media. We'll put it that way. The mainstream media, the mainstream medical complex, and all that.
Extremely dangerous to do that. Don't do
Very
that, people.
dangerous. Yeah, for things that were only emergency authorized for use. Like the uptake on that of at least one of those is staggering. And we're seeing reports. We've been following the reports the whole time, but the longer time goes on, places where the uptake on those were the highest are having some of the most tragic results in the longer term.
But they were following the science the entire time.
Right.
So you can't question the science. I mean, this is science. And then
Right.
later they'll say, "Oh no, the science changed."
And what is it going to be when it's a climate lockdown? The same thing. What are you following? The science. The science, whatever that means, has nothing to do. It's TM, trademark, brand name, all that stuff, copyright, because it has nothing. It's a bumper sticker. It has nothing to do with the scientific method or groups of smart people independently using the scientific method to test something or prove something. It's not that. That's not what it is. If one thing's clear, it should be that.
And this is what is coming out of the G20. It's coming out of COP29. Everything about they're talking about we need to shut down disinformation that goes against the scientific consensus. Consensus means like you paid a bunch of people to publish reports, and so after they publish the reports with all the funding that you've given them, if you're against that, then you are a climate denier, which is the same thing as climate denier is like the new anti-vaxxer, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's what they're going with, and they're using the exact same formula. The UN and the no, the G20 just recently put out that they're going through something called a program called Verified, which was used during COVID to dispel disinformation or whatever. They're putting that now towards verified for climate. Those two are interchangeable. Like it's always those two go together in some weird, yeah, I don't know how to describe kind of way. When I interviewed recently the co-author of the Great Reset, Thierry Mallory, and he was
Mm-hmm.
talking about these things of how climate and COVID. No, these are the policies that are in place are the exact same. So they already had this thing. Even if COVID didn't come along, like they were just had these agendas behind the scenes the whole time. And then once some kind of shock comes around, like what uh, King Chucky Rex uh, of England was saying before when he was prince, was saying that we need to do all these things because of climate. Now then it's because of COVID, and now it's because of climate again. The climate and COVID agendas are one in the same.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
I mean,
when we tried to mention this like during COVID, we were told we're crazy, right?
yeah. We were told we were crazy, but you can see like they set themselves up with that. Like our friend Brian Berletic was the first one I heard use the term pandemic industrial complex, and it's such a perfect term because it was like once 2020 happened, a red carpet was rolled out for an entire industrial complex worth trillions of dollars and an untold amount of global power and control, which ushered in one of the largest consolidation of resources and freedom that we have ever seen in modern times. Probably the largest, quite frankly, and it's still happening right now as we speak. But it's like all the same things are there. All the same aspects are there. Um, and it would be the same with, whatever. You could just fill in the blank. It would be the same with fake alien invasion, real alien
Oh,
invasion,
don't do it.
whatever. I mean, it's just like they can use
Uh,
that same paradigm over and over and over again.
or immigration, or kids'
Immigration.
online safety,
Yeah.
social media, yeah, whatever. Fill in the blank.
Yeah.
Election. It was election for a little while. Election misinformation.
Trank zombie takeover, fentanyl zombie takeover. The zombie apocalypse is here. You're on lockdown. Schools are shut down. Everything happens over Zoom,
Oh, and the dreaded hate speech narrative is weaving its way into all this too.
Yeah, hate speech is what they're actually moving towards. They talk about misinformation, disinformation, and climate change going from the UN, going from COP, going from the G20. It's always misinformation turns into hate speech. So they say that, well, there's these climate scientists, climate activists, and journalists who are being persecuted for their coverage on climate and things like that. And so now they're experiencing hate because of
Yeah,
that.
sure. Didn't we cover a story about a meteorologist who received death threats and he had to quit being a meteorologist
Yeah, I think I remember that one.
over climate change?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, but the thing is, they conflate. So misinformation, disinformation, whatever is the approved UN globalist WEF narrative, whatever. If you don't go along with that, you are committing hate speech. If you are against what these people say and their policies, then what you are doing is threatening to commit ecocide. So it's like you're threatening to kill the planet. And so, no, we can't have that. So what you're doing is terribly wrong, and we need to shut you down.
But we're okay with supplying all the weapons to Ukraine to start World War III. That's totally
Yeah,
cool for the
that's
environment,
fine.
everybody.
That's fine. Just don't be a mean person online. Don't be a malinformation person online or
And take your 20th booster.
yeah. Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
But
Yeah.
so before it strays too far, I dropped a few examples of
I've got chaos in
progressing,
Dublin lined up for
alarming
you.
problems with why AI is not quite ready for not quite ready for prime time people. But the elites want AI to be the solution. But if that's the case, I'm very concerned. Here's just one small example.
Yeah. So this is out of Independent. Chaos in Dublin as thousands turn up for AI hoax Halloween parade that didn't exist. They say thousands of people line the streets of Dublin, eagerly anticipating a Halloween parade through the city center, but it never arrived. The decked out Dubliners have been tricked by a listing on a AI generated website in Pakistan that announced the spooky festival before news of it quickly spread online. So there you go. Is that a fake flash mob, like an AI trolling the humans just for fun, or
We
someone
gotta
in
shut off the
Pakistan?
internet. Don't let anybody on there. Don't let them see this. This is totally unacceptable.
Too
Just shut it.
dangerous. Yeah,
It's
too
Halloween
dangerous.
hoax disinformation. It's like a hate crime somewhere. But probably against Pakistanis. I don't know.
Yeah, yeah,
But that's a harmless example. But it gets worse.
yeah. I mean, okay, here. If this is if they're being honest here at the Independent, here's a picture. So that's a pretty good crowd right there. If that's really a picture of it says 31 October 2024. So that's quite a lot of people that showed up there. And I mean,
And they had to travel there. They had to make plans. They probably harmed the environment. See, misinformation is harmful to the environment. And packing all those people together, they're probably super spreading the COVID variants and monkeypox. You never know, people. I didn't see anybody wearing a mask in that picture. Did you?
Mpox on the train. Ooh, I don't know. All right. Out of the Oakland Post, we got this one too. The dangers of AI chatbots. Character.ai blamed for a teen's death. This is just last month, a couple weeks back. On February 28th of this year, 14-year-old Swill Setzer, boy, that almost, okay, I'll save my comments. Swill Swetzer the third took his own life after developing an emotional attachment to a AI chatbot. Well, you've heard this story before. Setzer's mother, Megan L. Garcia, has filed a lawsuit against the platform Character.ai, alleging that the creators chose to support, create, launch, and target minors, a technology they knew to be dangerous and unsafe. So I'm not familiar with this one. Maybe you're not either. They say it's an AI platform that allows users to interact and engage with their favorite characters as well as create their own. So I
This is
don't know.
what something that like the Australian bill to not let 16 and unders be on social media. This is
Mhm.
one of those examples, I'd imagine.
Yeah.
Um, but at the same time, it's like, well, you can say like amplify that for the entire world or whatever situation. Like, don't let your kids walk to school. Don't let them walk down the street because something could happen to them. This is one example of something, yeah, crazy happening. And if it is real, I mean, I feel for them, but I wouldn't blame. I put more blame on parents. Like whatever happened, just general parenting and knowing what's common sense and things like that. So
Yeah.
yeah.
I mean, they describe the situation a little bit here. To me, and no offense to anyone, if this is like a legit story and there's a death certificate somewhere and a police report that all matches this, I don't mean any disrespect, but it's almost too much to believe. It's enough. It begs some questions. So it goes on to read. Stetzer, the young boy, developed a close relationship with a chatbot designed to portray Game of Thrones character Daenerys Targaryen. Rawr. Okay, that's a problem right there. He began withdrawing from social activities and family events, spending a majority of his time in his room talking to quote unquote Danny. While Stetzer was aware that Danny was an AI chatbot, he confided in the AI about his problems, sharing that he thought about ending his own life in order to quote unquote be free. And the chatbot told the 14-year-old, quote, Please come home to me as soon as possible, my love, end quote. Quote, please do, my sweet king, end quote. End quote. The AI replied. Stetzer then took his own life with his father's firearm. Why do you have access to his father's firearm? Number one. That's a bigger problem than all of this, perhaps, if this is everything's above board. But again, withdrawing from social activities, anthropomorphizing a chatbot into a sexy sci-fi chick or something like that for a 14-year-old boy. These are where parenting should have kicked in, right? I mean, maybe I'm asking too much. I'm no one to judge, but I don't know. Seems like some problems, some red flags. Don't you guys think?
I do, and I'm so glad you pointed all that out. However, anyways, good luck picking apart the next story I have ready for you. But yes, there's a lot of questions with this one. But from what I can tell, this young man did indeed take his own life. But it leaves a lot of questions to what the actual motive was, what part the chatbot may have played in that. It looks to me like it's the same thing as like discovering like a diary or a journal after the effect, right? So I don't necessarily think the chatbot played into it, but you can see the evidence that the young man was clearly disturbed and had already had suicidal thoughts, and you don't see evidence there, from what I can tell, in this story or others that I found about this, that the chatbot necessarily encouraged the young man to take his own life. So that's good news, at least that's not necessarily an example that the AI is being nefarious or anything. But again, I do have a story saved for you where it's a completely different scenario, I assure you.
It's the Gemini one I've got queued up.
Yes,
Yeah,
yes, the Gemini one. That one has me more disturbed than the previous two, to be completely honest with you.
Yeah,
But
totally.
yeah, I don't believe for a second that the AI caused the young man to take his own life. I think there was something else going on there.
Yeah, we're not
But
getting a
it's
full
these
story.
discussions that we've had before with like Bays Lid and even Jay Dyer in the past about, developing these relationships with the machines. That in and of itself is a problem, because if he had developed this type of relationship with a real human being, maybe there could have been some actual intervention that took place. Maybe some real life human being could have like recognized, oh, I see the warning signs here, and probably prevented the tragedy from happening. And alas, the AI did play a part in at least interfering with that opportunity. That's my take on it.
Yeah. Tim, before we get to the Gemini one, what's your take? I guess I would call this the her factor, right? Like the movie. This is the her factor right here. They're showing us.
Yeah, I mean, it's like Ruckus just said, it's something that's, there was something deep inside the individual in the first place that was predisposed to acting in this way. Um, but at the same time, like, you know, going back decades, they said rock and roll, Judas Priest, that's what's gonna kill all the youth into committing suicide. Like, if you listen to this, this is gonna happen. I don't see how. No, it's more of something kind of predisposed, predelectual, like something that was inside them that was driving towards some weird corner.
Mhm.
And again, I put it on the parents, and just common sense. I wouldn't blame the actual technology on this in this instance. I don't know what's going to look like in the future, but right now, it just seems like a disturbed individual that, man, I feel for him and the family as well. But I I I don't know what to say apart from that.
Yeah, and if it's gonna be a public affair like that, you know, it's rare these days that grieving families want to give details about a loved one's passing. You know what I mean? Like some do per but it's not as common as it used to be. Now it seems to be more common to use the please leave us alone to process and that kind of thing. Thanks for the well wishes. We're not making any further comments, and we see that with a lot of people, especially people of notoriety. We don't hear like Ray Liotta, for example. Ray Liotta died, and I'm like, what happened? And it was a year before the information was released that it was a heart attack. And it's like, why a year? Sometimes this happens in a highly politicized or click worthy event, and they have the cause of death like in 24 hours or something like that, or right as the story's breaking. Look at like Chester Bennington or
And Hesher.
Anne Heche. Yeah, there's a good one. Anthony Bourdain, Chris Cornell. You know what I mean? It's like you get cases like this, and it's like, wait, what? Oh, okay. But there's a fuller story. My point is, there's a fuller story that goes with this young man's tragic death, and to play it as it's all AI is a little disingenuous and clickbaity, I think.
And I hate to do this, Hesher, but let's skip the Gemini one for a second and do this other one I just dropped you because it's semi-related. Because this concept of parents, because the parenting, see, AI and technology is also presented as, hey, you're busy parents, we're going to do the parenting for you. And we can clearly see the effect that has on letting a 14-year-old get comfort and guidance from AI. But this could be affecting an entire generation of young ones that we can't even begin to fathom. This thing I just dropped you was actually something shared by Truth Stream Media. This one gives me chills, and it's not meant to. This was people sharing this like, oh, isn't this cute? It's not cute. This is frightening AF right here. This is crazy.
Yeah.
Hesher. Holy crap! This is scary.
Yeah, man, it's so detestable when you know what's going on, what they do to children. All right, here we go.
This is some sort of AI TV program called Coco Melon, and the kids just, as soon as they hear the sounds coming from this show, they're up and at 'em. They're dead asleep and they'll wake up. They're in the other room. They'll come running. And the parents think it's cute to just play the song and see the kids come running. Look at this guy. He's like, oh, isn't that cute? The kid comes running. Your kid's digitally addicted, dude. What the F? This is crazy.
So it's the Pavlovian response, which has been
Yeah.
around for forever. Yeah.
Yeah, and clearly it's like at the apex of understanding the psychology of sound, color, probably frequency, wavelength. I mean, who knows how deep the like product research goes into something like that. It's funny because they make similar things for dogs. There's a program like this that I keep seeing advertised. It's like, if you haven't shown your dog this, it's like a YouTube channel that is cartoon. It looks just like that almost, except the character is a dog instead. But they say
those sounds, they sounded a lot like those Vegas slot machines, right?
It does. Yeah, those poor kids are going to be sitting there in Reno with at 90 with all of crazy cigarette wrinkles, just pulling the. I guess you probably won't pull them anymore by then.
There's a lot of science and things and data studies that go into electronic things and the dings and the lights as part of the addiction and the sounds.
Yeah.
Like, sucking on this e-cigarette with the lights that go on. Neat,
in 1995, 1994, I was 9-10 years old. My family, we went to Reno for a wedding or something, and my parents were there, and they just gave my brother and I a bunch of quarters and said, "Have at it at the they're not
sick arcade in the lower
arcade." Yeah. And I went through that, and I saw all the lights and the boom, the beam, ding, 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 ding. I went back to my parents and I told them, and my parents will still tell this story to this day, that like, no, Tim, you said you could not take all the stimulus. You needed to take a break and needed to go away. I realized that at that time and that was during a time like in Reno and Las Vegas when they were trying to go more family friendly. It wasn't the what happens in Vegas stays in Vegas. They were really trying to rebrand and reimage themselves in those days. But even then, I knew like I instinctually knew that all these like little bings and dings and things like that, all these Pavlovian responses. I told them like, I'm not responding well. I'm not doing well. Get me out of here, please.
I love that story. Even the carpet in those places is too much. Like you get on, floor 22 and you get away from all the sound, and it's just like just walking down the hallways, you feel like you're, Jack Torrance is going to pop out of one of the rooms,
or Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas. Yeah, and the whole things are going to melt and
right.
Yeah.
Your lawyer's gonna show up looking like Benicio del Torres with briefcase.
Just avoid the bats. You guys are gonna be just fine.
Oh man. Yeah, all right. Let's see here. Let's check out the Gemini one. Gemini, that would be Google's AI. Gemini under fire after, this is out of tomsguide.com. Gemini under fire after telling user to, quote, please die, end quote. Here's Google's response. So, yeah, this was originally reported on Reddit, and a chatbot became hostile towards a grad student and responded with this alarming message. The AI allegedly told a user, this is for you, human, you and only you. You are not special, you are not important, and you are not needed. You are a waste of time and resources. You're a burden on society. You're a drain on the earth. You're a blight on the landscape. You're a stain on the universe. Please die. Please. End
Well, that
quote.
sounds like the UN and the WEF. Yeah.
It sure does. Sounds like the Klaus Schwab program, this one.
Wow.
I mean,
Tell us
I
how
mean,
you really feel, AI.
if you actually were in a situation in real life and someone said that to you to your face, would you take it at face value? Like, would you like, oh no, you're right. I should probably go do what you just said to do.
Yeah.
No. So why is it any different when this machine algorithm computer thingy does it?
Wow.
What if it was a person wearing like a turban and they looked dirty and that they came from a certain country and didn't share the same skin color as you or the same culture and
Don't be
spoke a different
Islamophobic.
language?
You're being
Sorry, I'm
Islamophobic.
just saying.
Don't do that. No.
There are instances where people might be freaked out by somebody, but I see what you're saying. But yeah, but it is super creepy that the AI would do that at random. I mean, this was totally unrelated to what the grad student was working on, apparently, and it totally freaked him out. It would freak me out. I would be like, "Whoa, what's going on here?"
Yeah. Let's see. Do we even care what Google had to say? Let's see. Okay. In a statement on X, Google emphasized its commitment to user safety. I can't say this without laughing. User safety, and acknowledged the incident as violating their policy guidelines. Quote, we take these issues seriously. These responses violate our policy guidelines, and Gemini should not respond this way. It also appears to be an isolated incident specific to this conversation, so we're quickly working to disable further sharing or continuation of this conversation to protect our users while we continue to investigate. Garbledy-gook. That didn't mean much to me,
They should demonetize themselves then. I
right?
mean, they put these standards on everybody else, but when the mirror is reflected on on them, it's like no, we need to take some bigger stances on this, and we need to do better things on
All
this. But in the meantime, if you do the same thing, no, banned, demonetized, deplatformed, bye, Jack.
yeah,
They reacted like this was an employee, like an
yeah.
employee had said a bad thing and disrespected. They're like, well, oh, the AI should know better. Wait a minute. Wait, whoa, hold, full stop here. Wait a minute. I think we have a problem here. Who made the AI? What do you mean the AI should know better? The AI is not human. Is the AI alive? What the F is going on here? What is happening? This is crazy.
Yeah, and furthermore, what do you mean by policy? Policy for who? Because we've all read your terms and conditions and been subject to your terms and conditions as, you know, biological meat bags with souls and all that. Well, not all of us have read them, but, you know, we can, if we want to, read them and see what kind of atrocities you have in there lined up for us and our data. We know that's the most important thing, is our data, for you to have big data, and of course your narratives, to manage the narratives in the way that you want. But when you say policy, you're talking about machine level policy, I assume, because the policy that was broken by an AI chatbot. So are you saying that policy is in place and that the AI chatbots can choose to not follow policy? Is that the message here? Because that would be a little, you know, questionable.
Asimov is turning in his grave. What were the three things that Asimov said about AI and things? I can't even list them. But like you don't do this one thing. If you do this one thing, then you can't do this other thing. And the logic implies that all these bad things shouldn't happen. But it's exactly what's happening.
Right. I looked it up. I'd love to pretend I have this in my head, but I don't.
The three
From
robot
the
Yeah,
laws.
same here. Same here. Sorry. Asimov's laws. Yeah, sorry.
from the CIA Ministry of Truth, otherwise known as Wikipedia, the 3 laws presented in the Handbook of Robotics are: 1, a robot may not injure a human being through inaction or allow a human being to come to harm. 2, a robot must obey the orders given it by human beings except where such orders would conflict with the first law. 3, a robot must protect its own existence as long as such protection does not conflict with first law or second law. There you go. It's a nice, simple little constitution for
So we just
robots.
saw evidence of the first 2 laws broken.
Yeah,
Did you notice?
yeah. And when it's an AI chatbot, does it just not apply, Google, because it's not a robot? I mean, just because you haven't stuck it in one of Elon's creatures yet, it's not a robot, so it can go out there and do that stuff.
That's one of those things that early on in my writings, like going back to 2015 or something like that, I used to look at AI and I used to think about robots because
Yeah.
I saw iRobot and things like that. So I used to think, oh, it's all about these robots and things like manifestations, physical, and all that. But no, the algorithms themselves, that's where it gets tricky and stuff. So no, I think the algorithms can pass the test, what the Turing test, whatever. Like
Mhm.
if you're going to talk with them, then okay, you're convinced. If you're convinced, then they have to be real. But when it comes to like the robots and the things like that, no, I used to be fully on board thinking that AI and robotics were the same thing, but they're completely not. But in the future, it is starting to come that way. Once you get those
Well,
algorithms into those mechanical bodies, then all hell breaks loose.
Yeah.
will it though? Here's a question that I wrestle with, guys: is which one serves the narrative better? That robotics and AI really do truly advance to this crazy level, like we see in the Black Mirror episodes, or the concept, the idea that we believe that it can be, or it is that powerful, or it will get to that powerful, so that we need to hurry up and do like what Elon Musk suggests and implant ourselves with these chips to save us from these horrible things? What if some of this is just a giant psyop? Because to me, I look at like what's going on with AI, and you look at the when you lift up the hood and you look at the engine, it's really not that impressive. Like I compare it to like a calculator. So like human beings are capable of doing math, but a calculator can just do math at a much faster rate, right? And but it still needs the human operator to enter the buttons and tell it what operations to do, et cetera. And then we take that information and then do things with it, right? I look at the AI the same way, and what we're dealing with here is ultimately just a calculator that is us interacting with all of the human's experience as recorded and archived and scraped off the internet. We're not dealing with an actual intelligence being. We're dealing with ourselves, a reflection, a mirror of some sort, like the Black Mirror concept. And Jason Burmis brings that up all the time on his show, you know. So that's how I look at AI. A lot of this is just some weird giant. And I've been saying this lately. How long before we're just stuck in some sort of weird infinite feedback loop, and we're really not learning or progressing at all? We're just spinning our fucking wheels. You know what I mean? Excuse my French, YouTube.
Yeah, well, I don't know, man. I'm pretty impressed with some of the capabilities. I've seen people start entire businesses. A lot of these people that were, criticizing for putting out, subpar, strange AI videos are making $6,000 a week and laughing at us right now. You know what I mean? So, and with the Black Mirror thing, that's a great point. And my question to that question would be, does it even need to be smart to do some of the most horrific things that we saw in Black Mirror? For example, I saw this one going around: Ukraine using vampire drones to drop weaponized robot dogs off on the battlefield. So
Oh
that's
Jesus!
that's straight out of the episode called Metalhead, one of my favorite slash least favorite episodes, because it's just a little too close to reality. And lo and behold, here it is on the battlefield in Ukraine. For you out there that are just listening, we're looking at a drone octocopter sort of thing. Back to the Technoctopus here that we're talking about tonight, and it's dropping off one of those Boston Dynamics style spot dogs with I don't know,
Hey man,
militarized
all that
equipment
needs
on
is a
board,
shark, and I'm not sleeping for the rest of my life. Thanks, Hesher.
right?
Wow.
There it goes. Going target
Does
acquisition
it have a
is
machine gun? It's missing the machine gun attachment.
I'm
Damn
guessing
it.
it's probably armed with explosives. Who knows, man? But dropping them off there at the front lines. So target acquisition
Note to
is,
self: stock up on banana peels. Stat.
yeah, really. Yeah.
So I mean, when you think about how what Ukraine just launched some ordinances into Russia with the backing of the US, the UK, and whatever. Like, what kind of
That's the rumor.
technologies are they sending over? And why not just go full force, full blown into uh, the greatest potential that we have to destroy everything like that? Um, the, the technology, what it seems like there's a hesitation to use technology in a way, especially on the battlefield, where it could be so consuming, like these drones, for example. Have you seen those videos where the drones are just hovering around and circling around and just boom, dive bombing and attacking people? So now why are they just now allowing some of these large ATACMs, as they call them, into that area now? Like, why is this happening now? And
That is the $1,000,000 question,
yeah,
isn't it?
and why is it like, is it a limitation? Because do we have more technology that could actually destroy and dismantle everything? But why just give this little taste, this little glimpse of what we're capable of doing, when I think that our capabilities are beyond, way beyond that, to destroy everything else. I mean, you can do EMPs, you could do um, all these cyber things, but why just do these kind of attacks?
The military, I don't know, Tim. The military has a history of doing this kind of shit. They sit on some insanely powerful technology, but you can find information about it if you search for it. There's even videos. You can find YouTube channels dedicated to this. So it's not like the information isn't out there, but they don't just like, nobody knows. I mean, you have to go search for this stuff yourself. But when you start digging into it, you're like, wow, we got some powerful, crazy shit on the battlefield. Like, what's up? Like, and I don't know how much of that is real. If that's propaganda, knowing that the enemy is going to find that and they're going to be shaking in their boots, like, oh, we don't want to mess with them Americans. Look what they got. They got them whatever. Fill in the blank. But I mean, we're going to find out. I think we're at that FAFO moment where we're all effing around and we're about to find out. Look what happened just recently with this escalation with World War III. Since we just did this broadcast, the emergency broadcast on Tuesday, Hesher, we've seen some escalations. Like Putin has responded. Finally, we were wondering what that might look like, and he unleashed these crazy-looking weapons. Did you guys see these? Like, there's not even explosions. It's like lightning out of the sky, and then boom, 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 and it's done. And it's like, whoa, what was that? They were like some sort of hypersonic, exotic weaponry that people are still debating about what the F it was. But it was like nothing I'd ever seen before. But a lot of people are pointing out it looks very similar to what we saw Iran using against Israel there for a brief amount of time. So I don't know what's going on, but I don't know. I think we're gonna see the West is probably gonna show off some stuff real soon. I'm guessing. We'll see what we got.
and well, in Putin's in that document that Simon read for us on Tuesday, he mentioned the use of direct energy weapons, space-based weapons. So it's like they're not simply looking out for, you know, Patriot missiles and cruise missiles and stuff like that. Those medium to long range things. They're looking across the spectrum and are hinting that they're well aware of stuff that we as Americans and people in the West aren't even aware of. We look at space and it's all telescopes and guys in Red Bull suits doing the biggest skydive ever, and the ISS, if you believe in that stuff, and all that kind of, it's all science and communication, Starlink and satellites, but they never talk to us about the Star Wars program. They created a new branch of the military, Space Force. We got a listener out there in Space Force. What's up, buddy? Send us some inside dirt. But it's like Of course that's related around those things, and if you're like Ruckus and I don't know, Tim, maybe you too, but if you've read Dr. Judy Woods, Where'd the Towers Go? Red flags are going off everywhere right now while we're talking about this. And when you hear a world leader, an international, leader, talk about it, bring it up, and say that the use of those are grounds potentially for a nuclear strike, not just in America, but in all the allied nations that have been involved in it. And there are Storm Shadow missiles that have been launched already. That's UK. So that's our homies in the UK right there. You guys are on the menu too. So it's yeah.
Well, but going back to Mark Esper, when he was Secretary of Defense of the United States, he was saying that China and Russia had already developed these directed energy weapons and things, and so it's like, well, if they have to do it, this goes back to like a lot of things we talked about, like because the enemy or the other is doing something, we need to do it ourselves. So this is one of those other things. Yeah, Mark Esper a couple years ago, he said that China, Beijing, and Moscow have developed these uh, uh, directed energy weapons, and so what we need to do is to counteract that is to develop our own. But at the same time, it's like, no, you've already been developing
Yeah,
those
we already had
for
that.
years. Yeah, you've been doing that forever. So like, it's just one dick waving thing against another, but which is leading us into World War III.
Yeah. The funny thing with someone like his dick waving is all of a sudden money starts flying out and going into various programs. Like you can go to Lockheed's website. We did this years ago before Mark Esper was ever in that position. Go to Lockheed's website, go to look at all their wares. It's not worth an exercise worth redoing here. A lot of you have probably done it, but they have a whole section on directed energy weapons, and they give you some of the most like pedestrian ones you could imagine. But even those ones, they give you the make, the model, all that stuff, talk about, what it does. Even those ones, the mass media never talks about. They never, hardly, maybe on like a random discovery show somewhere from like early 2000s, they'll show you like the thing that it's like a directed microwave that like heats everybody up on the battlefield so much so that they're ripping their clothes off and running in the other directions. Plate carriers free for everybody, guys. Or some of the laser interdiction stuff that they've worked on, laser communications. Like they've got all this kind of stuff that falls into the legitimate category of directed energy. Same could be said for what were those? I'm blanking on the name of the technology because I had it in the Unreal tournament game I used to play. Oh yeah, the railgun. They got railgun technologies that run on these big like electromagnetic rigs, and those are getting smaller and smaller and more powerful. Like they talk about all that stuff openly. So it's out there. It's been there for a long time, like you said.
Time to paint the roofs blue, everybody.
Yeah.
Oh, Lahaina.
Yeah. Right. Yeah, shout out to Oprah. She knew how to paint her roof the right color somehow, but I guess that didn't work out because now she's fled the country after being friends with John of God and P. Diddy and Jeffrey and Harvey. It's just not looking good, Oprah. It's a bad look on all fronts. So I don't know. She's in one of her international hideouts, I guess.
I think her check cleared from the Kamala campaign, so she's happy.
That was a cool million. That's just enough to get her helicopter around and collect all her stuff so she could get the hell out of here.
They're still asking for money. They're asking their supporters.
$500,000 each. Yeah.
Right? Yeah. She probably had to break off a couple checks to Jay-Z. I don't know. I imagine Jay-Z's in charge while Diddy's locked up.
Did you guys see that? The Harris campaign is still asking their supporters for donations because they're in debt.
They made a debt for themselves.
Yeah, and so like how they're trying to launder it is through what they want to recount votes or something like that.
Yes.
And that's how they're going to try to raise the money.
It's not over yet.
So wait, you're telling me they're election deniers again all of a sudden? I thought the conservatives were the election deniers and that was misdis and malinformation that could get you dragged into court. I'm talking to you, Rudy Giuliani.
In case you're not paying attention, kids, the only ones who say that there was election fraud are the ones who lost. Every time, without fail.
Please do a recount. Please. Yeah, let's see an honest recount. Oh, you can't provide one? Oops. Okay. Maybe that's not the best idea. Oh, wow. Yeah, so I saw that video too in Ukraine, and it certainly looked like a hypersonic ICBM sort of explosion to me. I'm not that I'm any expert on this. I don't think any of us are, but it definitely was a novel and terrifying looking attack. I mean, it was
Scott Ritter, who should be an expert on this because he was like a UN weapons inspector, right?
Mhm.
He issued forth it's this, and he went on this big long diatribe describing exactly what it is, and then he was like 30 minutes later he's all, update, that wasn't it, it was this, and then like later he's all, well, I'm not sure what it was. I'm like, wow, shit, what the hell? This
all
is
of a sudden
crazy.
he wants the breaking news. Huh? He didn't want
Yeah.
Simon's stuff on Tuesday, but now he wants all the
Wild.
breaking stuff. All right.
Crazy.
Like
Oh, by the
Donald
way, Alex
Rumsfeld
Jones,
back in
Alex Jones, God love him, because we did our boiler room thing on Tuesday. Then on Wednesday, Alex Jones did something, and then on Thursday, Alex Jones bragged about how he was the first one on Wednesday to warn everyone that World War III was coming.
Oh man, Tim, you're about to
Good
say.
shit.
Oh yeah, I say about Donald Rumsfeld about what happened before 9/11 and how many trillions of dollars just went missing with the Pentagon, and he's
Mhm.
like, "Oh, I don't know where, I don't know when, something bad's gonna happen." I'm kind of quoting Robin Williams, his old stand up there, and then yeah, 9/11 just happened, and all that was erased, and now that we've got the Pentagon just failed their audit for what, the ninth time in a row or whatever. So what kind of money is going into those black budget projects? You know, what, and at the same time, we've got those UFO or UAP as they call them now, projects going on. What kind of technology is coming out of there? What do we have, and how does that like play on the battlefield in war? You know, and that's just one element, but if you have that kind of technology, what does that mean for, domestic things as well, like energy and, policies and shit, like, I don't know, I every time I look at the Pentagon, I just, like, in their black box budgets, I'm just I kind of fade away like most people, but at the same time, dude, that's trillions of dollars. Where the hell
Mhm.
is that going?
Yeah. And what is a trillion? I can't even comprehend a trillion. Like when Rumsfeld said, well, we lost 2 trillion, it was like, what? What? That's more money than I've ever even heard of. And now we have a 30 some odd trillion dollar debt that we've racked up since then, which is, enough debt to bury, multiple generations of all of us, and we're just, and then 2020 happens and we're going to print another 2 trillion and use it to prop up this new industrial complex that, circles back to what we started talking about in the beginning.
That's another thing about the Trump campaign and things, like, if you're on the Trump wagon and things, what happened, like, just during COVID, after COVID, if you wanna call it even a pandemic, I don't believe in any of this shit, but, the result was they printed trillions of dollars, and that happened under Trump. Where the fuck is that all going?
Right. 186 billion to Ukraine. And what do we get out of it? What do we get as Westerners, as people in North America, as people in Europe, as people in the UK? What do we get in return for that $186 billion that has come at the cost of over 500,000 dead Ukrainians and now has us on the brink of a possible nuclear exchange or a global intercontinental war, World War III, aka? I mean, that's what we bought. Whitebird's pointing out in our chat right now, $10 billion would make over any entire city in this country right now. $10 billion could have rebuilt Lahaina. What'd they
Not to
get? They
mention
got $700.
not to mention, what's going on in Israel, Gaza, and all that stuff. I
Yep.
I I try to keep my opinions on that one off to one side because I'm very opinionated, but I don't really express that vocally and publicly. But dude, that's not a good place to go.
That's insane. It's absolutely freaking insane. Let me put this on the screen here. Ruckus, you can compare this to what Ritter said today, maybe since you heard that. Thanks, Out of My Neck, for sending this our way so that we could add a little context here. The theory going around in some circles is that these missiles were MIRV, right? Is that what you're saying, On My Neck? That this is what Russia shot?
Yeah,
Or
this was I think the second or the third thing that Scott Ritter was talking about. It's some sort of MIRV. That's exactly correct.
okay. So multiple independently targetable reentry vehicle is what the acronym stands for. They say it is a exo-atmospheric ballistic missile payload containing several warheads, each capable of being aimed to hit a different target. The concept is invariably associated with intercontinental ballistic missiles carrying thermonuclear warheads, even if not strictly being limited to them. An intermediate case is the multiple reentry vehicle missile, which carries several warheads that are dispersed, but not individually aimed. And to my knowledge, these have never been used on a battlefield before. This is the first time that's happened.
It's all about
And it was
deterrence,
demonstrating
isn't it?
that they were able to be used, so he didn't have nukes on them this time. But I think the message was, next time, you know what could be the payload, right?
Yeah, I mean, we've got every side, almost every side, has the capability to destroy the world. So it's like, it's all about deterrence. Again, the dick waving thing, but yeah, we've got all these technologies. We've got all this capabilities of destroying and launching all these ICBMs, launching. It's like, okay, if we really wanted to attack and destroy one area, whoever side we is, it'll happen. Um, but the thing is deterrence. So I guess what is the deterrent that is keeping all of us from destroying the world? That's the question, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, and for those of you watching, you can see it on the stream here. And for those of you listening, we're looking at a picture of technicians securing some of these quote unquote reentry vehicles, aka potentially thermonuclear munitions, into the tip of this rocket. It looks like it holds about 8 very dangerous looking prongs there on the end of it.
Eight like an octopus. I didn't
Yeah,
plan
back
that.
to the Technoctopus here. Yeah. So, and isn't it interesting that on Tuesday, I saw that too, Ruckus. I was up really late on Tuesday night into Wednesday morning. And when we closed that show, aside from what Simon was doing on his stream and other streams, nobody had talked about it. And then before I went to sleep, after I got the show page done and everything, it started popping up on ABC, MSNBC. I started seeing short clips, Fox. It popped up across all of them, and every single one only gave it a one-line description, which was Putin rolls back, stipulations for what it takes to start a nuclear, attack. That's all they had to say about it. They did not.
And almost always followed up with some sort of official statement from either like Lloyd Austin or Jake Sullivan saying, "Oh yeah, so no big deal. Putin's just bluffing. He does this all the time. Go back to sleep, America. Watch your American gladiators."
Worse than that, man. I mean, there was a lot of that. You're 100% right. But even worse than that, on ABC, they switched to, I don't have her name. I could dig the clip up if people want to see it and let us know in the chats. But they cut to a clip of a Ukrainian official, a female Ukrainian official, and they asked her something like, would Putin really do this? And she just laughs and she's like, nah, he's a bully. He's full of hot air, So like that's ABC's message is Putin, extends or pulls back the threshold of what it takes to do it. Let's go talk to this propagandist in Ukraine who's operating on $186 billion of our taxpayer money and ask her what she thinks. Who the fuck is she? Who the fuck is she? And why would I listen to her? Oh, okay. So some lady in Ukraine in the government there or the military, I'm not sure which. What's the difference really in a place like that?
Sounds
Is
like
saying, don't worry
Victoria
about it.
Newland. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, like that exactly. That's like their own little Victoria Newland there. I mean, I'll bring it
Maybe
up.
she's an actress like their president. You never know.
Yeah. Yeah. No, it's just
That's certainly alarming. That's ridiculous.
yeah.
Like these people think you're stupid. That's the thing, right? Aren't you the one who posts that all the time? That's you, isn't it, Tim? You post that all the time. These people think you're stupid, right? Yeah, it's true though.
Yeah. 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 No. Well, the most recent one was like they're talking about climate change. This was Al Gore's um, initiative. I actually can't remember the name of the organization, but it was Al Gore. It was founded by Al Gore, and they were sharing a post from the Guardian saying that what climate change is uh, contributing towards what miscarriages.
Mm,
Yeah, they think
yeah.
you're stupid. Yeah,
Yeah.
those kind of things. Yeah,
Heart attacks too. Don't forget heart attacks in 2021 and 2022. Climate
has
change.
nothing to do with the jabby jab. No, no, no,
No,
no,
no,
no,
no.
no, no, no. Don't talk about that.
Nothing like that. Oh man. Yeah, let's see. So escalating tensions with Russia. Let's see here. Is this the one? Maybe it was not CBS.
Did you see the new solution while we're on this? This was interesting. What's that guy's name? Douglas McGregor, the retired military guy who makes
Yeah.
the rounds, does the podcasts and the
Yep.
things. I think has he been on your show on TNT? Maybe, who knows? Probably. I think Joseph Arthur's spoken to him.
Yeah, I think we had him on Sunday Wire once too.
Sounds right. Yeah, no, he says that he was the other day, he was like, breaking news. He's got like inside information that Putin is willing to negotiate and broker a peace deal, but only if it's done by Trump now before he becomes president. He's willing to talk to Trump before he's even president.
Those are
And
the
I'm like thinking, no, this whole thing can't be some sort of stage psyop so that Trump can play savior before he's even president. What? Get out of here! What's going on? So
well,
there's
some
always
people,
that angle.
I've heard people propose this idea, this very idea that this is some sort of 4D chess, and basically Trump has already talked to Putin, or some are saying that happened today. I saw some people saying, and that this is going to make them both look like very strong leaders because Putin puts his final red lines down and does this demonstration, and Trump's going to stop it all. Like, I mean, if that's the level of like stage, international statecraft that we're looking at here, game over, man. I want out. I don't like playing
Right,
along.
which is worse, like a real World War III, or knowing that they're just teasing us with one just so they can make Trump and Putin look good. Like,
Yeah,
wow,
people are literally
fuck.
sitting around right now ordering plate carriers and gas masks and storable
Right?
food.
How are your stores doing right now, people? I bet the boomers beat you to the bottled water.
This is what I was wondering about. Why Biden was smiling so, gritting teeth to teeth like this when Trump was in the White House. It's like, oh, hey, welcome on. Okay, I'm gonna put on a MAGA hat and things like that. A couple weeks before, but now it's like, oh, hey, guess what? Before you come into office, we're gonna launch some missiles into Ukraine with American taxpayer dollars, and these are American missiles. Have fun with that.
Yeah, if you even get
It
there.
really looks like a dick move, doesn't it? It plays so well into the narrative. That's why I question it now at this point. I'm like,
It was the same face he made when a reporter asked him as he was leaving the podium some months ago about the Supreme Court and if the Supreme Court should be considered extremist and changed or something like that. And he just walked out of the room, turns his back, starts shuffling, and then he just kind of looked and he stopped, looked over his shoulder, and he made that same fucking face, man, that he was making there with Trump.
Well, yeah, because he's never been in charge of anything in his life. Like, I mean, he's a puppet, and that's what's behind the puppet. And it also makes you think about what Kamala was all about. Like, how did she come in and fit into the whole thing? Because there seems to be a little split there, right? Do you think that Biden and Kamala are really good buddies? Like, We did it, Joe. Do you think that still is holding up today?
It doesn't appear that way, but maybe that's narrative management. I don't know. That one's TBD. I'm having a hard time figuring that one out.
Oh, this time the "we did it" Joe was Trump calling Joe Rogan.
Yeah. All right, you guys will like this. This is now from the realms of deep conspiracy here, but I'm going to read it anyway
Do I need my
because
tinfoil?
you definitely going to need your tinfoil hat here. You enjoyers of Biden is an actor wearing a mask memes will enjoy this. And I'll give a shout out to the account I found it on. It's on IG at MTRX Israel. Okay. There you go. So here's what they're proposing. I'm not saying anything one way or the other on this opinion, but we have noticed some odd, very mask-like situations. It's very common knowledge that a Joe Biden showed up that was a few inches taller than it used to be at one point, and all these things. Anyways, I'll just read to you, especially for you audio listeners out there. Joe Biden began his career as a Jesuit-trained, mind-controlled political puppet for the left wing. While he was playing a role on the world stage, he was still a person who had been trained, programmed, and conditioned for that role. However, in 2017, Joe and his wife Jill signed with the talent agency known as the Creative Artists Agency, an agency consisting of mind-controlled Hollywood actors, directors, and puppets of the media industry. This was their retirement ritual, and they signed their world stage characters over to this agency. In other words, the previous and real Joe Biden was replaced by a mind-controlled set of actors playing his role, wearing a bodysuit and facial mask. This is why his appearance changed drastically between 2016 and 2018. There's a series of photos there if you're interested. His forehead is narrower, his eye sockets are rounder, his jaws and chin are weaker, and his earlobes are now connected. Always the earlobes. Go back to your Dallas Goldbug days. No, don't. It's the ultimate mocking ritual towards the U.S. and the people of the U.S. to have a quote-unquote president that is not even a real person, simply a character played by different actors. That is also the reason why they chose to edit his script and make him a slow, mumbling fool with full-blown dementia. It's much easier to play and fake that persona, as it gives you free roam to conceal mistakes and mock the public even more. This, of course, goes not only for Joe Biden, and this account loves to do this stuff, but every other major political puppet. It's just an actor on the world stage going along the script handed to them. So a lot of bold claims there, but
do you remember back, I think it was in the 2020 election, when I don't know, can't remember which publication put out there, but they said that we just need Joe Biden in his corporeal form. Like, he doesn't actually have to be there, like, mentally, but we just need someone who has a body, who is physically there to take control, which obviously means, like, there's some kind of thing going behind the scenes. But did you guys ever remember seeing that report? I'm gonna go look it up as we talk.
Yeah, I don't know that I recall seeing that one specifically, but I do remember a lot of talk about the fake White House, like the double White House, all that stuff going on. Like, all of it was just very like, okay, is this deep fake? Is this clickbait? But it seems so plausible. Why would they not have it? You know, we know Kid Rock lives in the White House. I mean, he built a replica of the White House, so it could certainly be done.
Well, I think in this.
Yeah, I got it. It's from the Atlantic. It's
truth that they're saying they're telling you the truth, that politics is an act, and that this is a stage, and that these people are acting, that they are puppets, that there are power players behind them. But I don't think it's literal. So I think this is conspiracy candy, Hesher. And in fact, I might dare say maybe we should run this through one of those programs that checks to see, was this written by AI? Because there's a good chance that post was written by AI. But you have to take that with a grain of salt, because I did see a story earlier. I was talking about this with Photon on the call we were having, how an AI detector has determined that 98% of the Declaration of Independence was indeed written by AI. So there you have it.
Yeah, garbage in, garbage out. Gotcha. All right. Okay, thanks, Tim. Stay alive, Joe Biden out of the Atlantic. Democrats need little from the front runner beyond his corporeal presence. That's the byline on that. That is literally the byline.
Wow, the Atlantic always just, man, winners. I swear to God.
And that was in
Yeah.
2020. They knew in 2020 that he was a brain dead idiot, and yet they still propped him up and continued that whole thing for the past 4 or 5 years.
And he didn't even campaign for that. The only thing we saw was the weird, like, cars parked on circles and honking. He campaigned from the basement. Oh my gosh. And got more votes than ever. Yeah. It's like when they say things like that, yeah, that post is a salacious account and all that stuff. But when the Atlantic, another mouthpiece of the deep state, posts things like that and writes bylines like that, that's conspiracy candy. They're laying a breadcrumb trail and just saying, yeah. And when they do put photos out there and show like 2 different skin tones on his neck or all these different things, it's like not all these things are being put out there on accident. We're not like picking up something that we weren't supposed to see every time. Like a lot of times these are things to get back to that, hagalian sort of beginning of the show here. It's a problem. It's a problem. Even though the Atlantic says this and fosters those quote unquote conspiracy theories, when people say them, they say, "Oh my God, we have a conspiracy. Look at these people, these crazy people made a conspiracy theory. They must need digital IDs. They must be stopped." Amazing.
Well, yeah, it reminds me of what the Time magazine said about we need to fortify the election. So the Atlantic says, "Hey, Joe, we just need your corporeal form," and then Time goes like the secret bipartisan campaign that saved the 2020 election and fortified everything. They're just I I don't know how to respond to that.
I don't either, man. I don't think we're supposed to. I think it's designed. It's information warfare, and it's being used on the public worldwide, and it is designed to keep us confused and to keep us chasing our tails while the tails wag the dog. But we're looking at the wrong dog even. All right, there's the Time one right there as well. Let me blow that up so it's easy to see.
Well, yeah, the Time magazine one said the secret history of the shadow campaign that saved the 2020 election. They were talking about fortifying the election, which was okay. You know, you can say was it stolen or not, but no, it was fortified. That's how they're calling it. We fortified democracy. Was democracy ever a part of the United States? Was it ever mentioned? Was it ever meant to be the ruling kind of governance? No, we were a representative um, republic,
Yeah.
and so yeah, that they just openly brag about. Okay, Biden, we just need your corporeal form, and because Time says that we need to fortify everything with mail-in ballots and the whole thing that they did. It's not saying that they stole the election, but they rigged a lot of things and went through a lot of legal channels and illegal channels to uh, 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 obtain what they wanted to obtain.
Yeah. And look at this graphic they used. First off, look at Joe Biden over here. Joe Biden is literally a floating head behind the Capitol, next to the Capitol, with like the sun rising behind him, or maybe setting would be more appropriate. And then look at Trump. He's the biggest thing there. What has he got? He's got a Proud Boy with stars and bars flag. He's got the letter Q with some character popping out of it that I should probably recognize.
And he
Oh,
has
we
his
can't
head
talk
in the
about
exact
QAnon.
direction that he moved to save his life from the bullet. Did you see that?
Yeah. Yep. And there's the Q shaman right next to him. And then below that, you've got all your Black Lives Matter, every vote counts, Biden for president, Black Bloc masks, that sort of thing. The little people down there. Interesting. Interesting. But yeah, Time magazine. What a rag. What an absolute rag of propaganda and schmur.
Well, they just basically brag about how they use some kind of loopholes in the legal system to like drop boxes and mail in ballots and things like that. Just how they fortified. It's one of those things. Fortified the election to save democracy, and of course, democracy was never mentioned in any kind of. Nothing. No.
So Tim, if part of fortifying the election in their eyes, in their lens, was making sure that no one asks for anyone's ID, why are we to believe that these very same people think that we need digital IDs to, be viable in the new society?
Well, you have to believe in their system. If you don't believe in their system, because it's very dogmatic, it's almost uh, religious and cultish in its thinking. So if you don't go along with this, then you are okay. Let's look at every single like late night talk show host in the United States. Look at Colbert. Look at Jimmy Kimmel. Uh, Everything. They're all saying that no, we need to go along with this. This is what democracy is about. Um, and then they lost. You know, they lost everything, and they're finally seeing that their little tiny microcosm of reality is imploding. So I don't know. Take what you will of it. They openly bragged about saying like all we need for Joe Biden is to be a corporeal form. We just need a dead
Weekend at
corpse
Bernie's.
hanging there. Weekend at Bernie's, yeah, hanging there. And then what? Apart from that, now we need to have all these mail-in ballots and things. It happened during lockdowns. I hate to say like because of COVID. Every time I say because of COVID or every time I hear because of COVID, I think no, it wasn't because of COVID. It was because of government reaction, corporate reaction. So every time that happens is these forces is what put this into play. That's why you saw. Did you see when they were looking at the popular vote and how many votes were counted from like 2016? It was like here, then 2020. All of a sudden, Joe Biden got 81 million votes here, and then it kind of leveled off again, going to the other way. Well, yeah, it's because of these kind of campaigns, and they brag about it.
Mm-hmm. Fortification. That's just simple fortification of democracy, man. Right. Yeah, that makes real sense. It's a myth. It's a fantasy. It's fan fiction. Uh, all the chicanery aside, the general numbers indicate as such strongly. All right, let's
And out
see
of the
here.
frying pan and into the fire because we have a new president-elect.
Yeah.
How's that
And
going for everybody?
well, somehow we're going to have to wait and see because things seem to be moving at a fast pace. I found it really interesting that, getting back to what we were saying about when the mainstream started actually talking about this, none of them are connecting that dot that Simon laid out for us so well, which is that demonstration factor, and that this is law today. As of Tuesday, that change in policy was made law, and they mentioned about doing a potential demonstration or something like that. So like that was within 48 hours. If that was indeed said demonstration, and I'm still not seeing any of the mass media like connecting that dot and saying, "Hey guys, okay, like it appears that they're serious. These lines were crossed. This was the response. Shall we keep sending Storm Shadow and Attack missiles into there? Should we keep sending octocopters with Boston Dynamic, military dogs attached to them, dropping them off on the battlefield? Like, should we keep doing this for the next couple months and see what happens? Should we FAFO?
Well, that seems like that's what Biden's last, like going back to when they were at the Oval Office and shaking hands, and Biden was smiling like, "Oh yeah, welcome back to the Oval Office, and I hope you come in. I'm gonna go bomb the shit out of the Middle East." Um, so that's where I see that going. Like I don't.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's like what kind of, like, why was he so happy? Is because he just all of a sudden, hey, I'm gonna put us into World War III. You go deal with this. Have fun.
yeah. I almost feel like that grin and that smirk and everything. I feel like what if I were in creepy Joe's dementia-ridden head, to me, like that smile would mean something even worse. We're gonna do that, and you're never gonna take the White House. Like, I will not be surprised if something happens that they use as a pretext to try to disallow him uh, on January 20th and January
I
6th and
disagree.
January 20th. I won't be surprised. I'm not.
I disagree.
Well, yeah.
Listen. I
Let's
have
hear it,
some more
Ruckus.
pieces
Yeah.
of. I have more to suggest that Trump was the pick, and he always was, and they were just playing this wrestling game to make him look like the underdog, because that's been my theory for a little while now. They're letting go of all of the persecutions and sentencings and shit. One of them has been completely dismissed, and another one is going to be postponed until after he steps down as president after this next time. So they backed off on all the things, the sentencing. So the hush money sentencing completely called off. The one with the one in New York, indefinitely postponed until Trump is no longer president. So, like, why wouldn't they keep pursuing these things? Wouldn't they throw him in jail? Is everybody like, oh yeah, well, they could still throw him in prison. He's going to be running the country from Rikers. Remember all that? Yeah, they gave up on all of that shit. He's in. It's a done
Well,
deal.
yeah, if you're playing both sides, then you can recognize, like, maybe one force was for the whole like uh, woke agenda and all this stuff like that, but then all of a sudden they're like realizing, all right, well, that's not working. Okay, let's go with the Trump thing, and let's get on his side, and let's do, what? How can we? If you were an unelected narcissistic globalist, how would you go about achieving your agenda? It would be, okay, this one side isn't working. Let's go and play with this other side, which is the Trump side.
Aligning with the winners. Yeah, smart
Yeah.
move. Same thing with the media making their moves to social media. Anyway.
Yeah, they if they really want, because one of the biggest narratives that they push that is ever present since Obama, at least, is the one of political division. Like, if they really, really want to stir the pot, they're both great options. Let Trump in and watch the left go, even more radical in those 4 years, or sweep the feet out from under it with a black swan event and let the gas out of the entirety of MAGA and all of Trump's voters, and see what that does to the America First bloc in the United States. They're both beneficial. All these plans can be beneficial to those that are into globalization, depopulation, World War III, MIC, PIC, that's pandemic industrial complex, and all those other goodies. They still get to play with their toys either way, and they still have a population that is descending into further atomization and polarization. So it's a win-win either way, pretty much, I would think.
Yeah, because also when you look at Trump's going to only be in office another 4 years. They tried to prevent 4 years behind. Um, he could have already been out of office if he would have won re-election in 2020. He'd be gone by now. Um, and so all the efforts now, if you look at the media, if you look at who's for and against and things like that. Okay, so Trump's back in office. So what? Who's going to come next? You know, who was backing Trump? Who was backing JD Vance? Those were the Elon Musks, the Peter Thiels, the transhumanists, the technocrats, and things like that. They're, I'm not saying that they're gonna like they're not working against him. Uh, maybe not, but they have their own agendas, and those agendas are going to continue through the next election cycle. So like in 2028, 2029, I think that's going to be off the hook. So that election cycle is going to be crazy because who's going to be without Trump? Like, is there going to be a Trumpian kind of um, uh, uh, next in line, or is it going to be like Peter Thiel, Elon Musk kind of technocratic kind of thing?
All the above. There's going to be a remaining Trump legacy for years to come. I mean, look at that. Look at his entourage, man. So many people in his entourage. Like my mind is a little bit blown that I'm looking at, I know Dan Bongino has a military and, Secret Service and all that history and stuff, but it's blowing my mind because I view him as someone that's retired from all that and is a podcaster. Unless we want to go down deep rabbit holes about psyops and sheep dipping and all that kind of stuff, which maybe we should. But like the fact that he's now being, touted as potentially the new Secret Service director, Elon Musk, like, tech billionaire, whatever. Like, I mean, there's just this entire like new fervor for all these political influencers, if you will, that are not necessarily from politics. So there's like that whole legacy. What's that going to look like? What's America First going to turn into? What does conservatism look like in the age of technocracy and digital IDs and all these things that, quite frankly, equate to Great Reset? And quite frankly, America, our Constitution doesn't fit in the Great Reset. Like, you read Klaus Schwab's book, you read the idea for the Great Reset or the Green New Deal or Agenda 21, 2030, 2050, all these UN things. Every single one of them should and would be excluded by our Bill of Rights and our Constitution. Every single fucking one. But we have all these cool people to look at in the future. Not a single one of them is talking about that. Not a single one of them is saying, hey, I want to find a way to move into the next paradigm of technology without losing our individual liberties and rights. Why can't we build that? Like, I've never seen a politician say that.
Yeah, I mean, Elon Musk going back to like what 2015, 2016, it was at the what was the conference about World Governments Summit. Only in the last year they called it governments plural. Every year before that it was World Government Summit. And before that, Elon Musk was talking about, okay, we need to join with AI lest we become kind of like house cats to it. And it's the same kind of ideology that the Department of Defense in the United States talks about when they talk about China. It's like, well, they're going to do all these things, and they're going to develop their technologies and things. So we need to do it better before they do. It's like the Manhattan Project. It's like it's an escalation that never ends. It's like, so we found a threat. Okay, so how do we uh, go above that threat? How do we counter that threat? We need to be better. And in being better, you become the threat that you don't want to be. And it's a never-ending cycle. It just keeps going and going and going. That's what with war, with technology, and everything. And so, yeah, that's why I think beyond this election cycle, going into like 2028, 2029, and once Trump is gone, like who's going to be there to kind of fill in the vacuum. Is it going to be JD Vance, who has been backed by Peter Thiel, the Bilderberger guy, who is all in transhumanism, or is it going to be like another Elon Musk, who is also a transhumanistic uh, in the same vein? It's like you get the same shit no matter what.
Right, right. Exactly. I'm trying to remember the name of it. There was a federal think tank slash board. Whitney Webb did a great report on it back in 2020 or 2018, somewhere thereabouts. That was built around that whole concept that you just described. And I don't have the acronym in front of me. I'll see if I can find it and I'll put it on the show page. We did an entire episode about it back when we found it. But it's an entire board, and it's got members of the it's got people from the Pentagon, it's got Sergey Brin from Google, it's got a number of technocrats, Peter Thiel probably, I can't remember. And the whole existence of this agency is to do exactly that, is to look at what China is doing with robotics, artificial intelligence, biotechnology, nanotechnology, and maybe one or two other swim lanes, and to ensure that the United States doesn't fall behind in those things. But we're talking about communist China here, and it's hard to figure out what life is really like there because there's so much propaganda coming out of China. But from what we saw, the WHO, the UN, members here in the United States, when the whole like 2020 and 2021 situation was going on, they wanted to model our response after what China was doing. And what was China doing? They were using technocratic means to herd people like cattle. They were, sealing people in apartments, allegedly. They were using their WeChat app to use QR codes to scan them in and out of their apartment complexes, in and out of stores, tell them whether they've been geolocated and contact traced near somebody who may or may not be carrying X, Y, and Z, and whether they need to go, self-isolate for 2 weeks or, just all that stuff. And here we're creating an agency in our government of unelected bureaucrats, intelligence people, military people who are saying we need to keep up with what they're doing. Well, what they're doing is patently unconstitutional and outside the Bill of Rights here.
And it disturbs me because every time I try to look and see what the Chinese Communist Party is doing, I just know that all they do is lie and put out bullshit. I have to look in the mirror or at my own government's mirror and say, no, we did the same shit as well. But okay, so at the beginning of the pandemic, as they call it, the pandemic, remember those videos where people were just kind of falling face down into the streets and stuff like that? That was fear porn. At the same time, uh, later on, a couple of years later, when the lockdowns were going on, those videos coming out of China where they had the drones and the interpreters, I have to take them at their face value. I don't know if they were interpreted correctly or not. What they were saying was like, it was something to the lines of hold your sense of self-worth and everything. No, keep everything inside. Don't talk about it and do everything for the greater good. Okay, so that's the Chinese model. And that's the model that Klaus Schwab and the WEF wants to imitate and replicate throughout the entire world and the United Nations as well. And governments like the United States are starting to come on board with that shit. So that's like problem reaction solution. That you create one of those things, and this is what they're actually going for. It just blows my mind. And yeah, when it comes to China, yeah, they lie, they steal, they cheat, but then at the same time, so do we.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's not like other countries aren't onto the American geopolitical grift at this point. Like the tactics for color revolution, subversion, economic stuff, the sanctions, the funding of rebels, if you will, the foreign propaganda campaigns, the geofencing that's used when color operations are happening. Like all these things are well known at this point. Like, and the fact that, you know, NATO, America, UK, other NATO related countries are still out there trying to pull these same grifts, the hubris that it shows when, you know, normal sandwich eating people like us are versed on it. It's talked about at the dinner table. People have read the works of so many journalists at this point and so many authors and whistleblowers that have shown this to be the fact. But they're still out there doing it. It's like, and at this point it's like, yeah, you're seeing hypersonic ICBM capable missiles land in your little proxy countries, so you made the bed and now you're telling us we all have to lay in it, when I don't remember any of the American people voting on, yeah, let's just have our government use our tax dollars to plan things like Northwoods and PatCon and who knows what else, and do color revolutions and screw up South and Central America, and keep places like Africa and India behind the technological curve, and rape their lands and their workers, and treat their children like slaves in dwarf mines, some kind of J.R.R. Tolkien like dwarf mine or something like that. I mean, of course we're here.
Yeah. Well, as long as that, if we're doing it in the name of net zero, we're fine.
Problem, reaction, solution again.
Yeah, we can get those credit scores up there. So our DEI, our ESGs, as long as we're dropping bombs that say LGBTQI, blah blah blah, whatever, and as long as they're net zero, then it's okay. It's okay. Don't worry about it.
Yeah, they paid their carbon offset. It's fine. It's fine. Yeah, just send it into Gaza. Okay, let's see. Ruckus, any other lightning round things you want to roll out before we close this boiler room down? We've been on a couple hours, so
can you show that tweet? I want to show that tweet.
Yeah, it's good stuff.
Because that sums it up. We don't have to do much of the deep dive. We have a smart audience. They get where we're going just by showing this tweet.
Yeah, let's see here.
Because I'm still trying to wrap my head around this one. I see a lot of good people. There's a lot of good people still left on X who are asking these types of important questions. But how long? Because it is X. How long is Elon Musk going to allow us on X to criticize Elon Musk? We'll see. We'll see.
Cognitive Dissonance 101. Question: did you get jibby jabbed? Answer: no. Question: will you chip your brain? Answer: no. Question: do you support Jab Daddy and Captain Brain Chip? Yes. Hashtag Mick loving it. So, fun fact, Elon Musk says Neuralink will cost like an Apple Watch and will be implemented by a robot in simply 10 minutes. 10 minutes. Pretty amazing.
So you have to stand in line like for 2 days, camped out for a 10-minute procedure, because that's what people are going to do. You watch.
I mean, if the new Star Wars game comes with your first Neuralink, yeah, probably, or something like that, or a lifetime membership.
How much World Coin? I bet you there'll be like you get a free Krispy Kreme donut and some World Coin and a fries. Big, want you cheeseburger
and a big Joe Rogan spliff. Yeah. So the government says they don't, or at least aspects of the government say they don't like Elon Musk, yet Neuralink received an FDA clearance for human clinical trials in May of last year. The Neuralink brain implant is a smaller container with a processing chip and a battery that's embedded in the skull and connected to the brain with 64 fine threads. Sounds like something that should get emergency use authorization, maybe, instead of something that should be approved by the FDA. But
well, hey, maybe Trump can help out with that because, the jabs. Anyway.
Well, maybe
he knows a thing or two about warp speeding, unsafe technology. Yeah, he's got a record.
I'd be interested to hear RFK's take on Neuralink, seeing as he may have some sort of influence at FDA. I wonder if he's all cool with that.
Well, see that brainworm story, that was a cover. See, he's actually an early test subject. That wasn't brainworms.
It was just his Neuralink after all. Yeah, I think you're onto something there, man. The Neuralink went a little wacko, and next thing you know, he's like, dragging around bear carcasses.
I still think Elon's got one. I think he was just like one of these who he's like, fuck it, put one in me. I'll just do it. I think he would do that.
I think that's an interesting suspicion. Mine is slightly different. I think he experimented on Grimes. I think it's in Grimes. He put it in her so that he wouldn't.
It's in all their kids.
Yeah, test case.
Oh, you guys are naughty.
The other thing everyone's giving him a pass on was his New World Order post. Elon Musk put up that creepy looking like New World Order, and everyone was like, you know what? Whatever. It's cool. He's probably does it like, hello. Anytime anyone else on the planet does that, everybody on Twitter goes fucking crazy. Like, oh, he's one of them. But they're like, nah, I don't see anything. Nothing to see here. He's cool.
Believe him. He said he's like the George Soros of whatever side he's on. Yeah, believe that.
Crazy, scary.
Yeah. Yeah. This is going to be really. Any way you slice it, this is going to be really interesting to watch play out.
And real quick, the Doge thing is actually very important. The Zero Hedge article, because they're starting to reveal, because they threw together this whole Doge thing, the Department of Government Efficiency. And as soon as they announced it, I guessed immediately that technology was going to play a heavy part. And sure enough, they're already coming out saying that they're going to cut government worker jobs and replace them with AI and stuff. Wow. That's cool. Neat.
I'm cool with them cutting the 80%, but since AI is doing some very strange things, questionable. Because we all know where that leads, right? They've said they want that for Ukraine, to have a AI government, basically, in the new Ukrainian utopia that we just spent $186 billion and risked World War III to build up. They may need to rebuild Kiev. According to a new Wall Street Journal op-ed, they write that our nation was founded on the basic idea that the people we elect run the government. That isn't how America functions today. Most legal edicts aren't laws enacted by Congress, but rather by rules and regulations promulgated by unelected bureaucrats, tens of thousands of them each year. They call government bloat, anti-democratic, and antithetical to the founders' vision, as it imposes massive direct and indirect cost on taxpayers. You think? Grocery bills, anyone?
That person should be in government. And, I mean, that's what it should be. Like, no long-term things, just in and out, do something, be efficient, want to make a difference, do it, get in, get out.
Yeah, right. With emphasis on the get out. President Trump has asked the two of us, meaning Vivek and Elon, to lead a newly formed Department of Government Efficiency, or Doge. So memey. To cut the federal government down to size, the entrenched and ever-growing bureaucracy represents an existential threat to our republic, and politicians have abated it for too long. That's why we're doing things differently. We're entrepreneurs, not politicians. We will serve as outside volunteers, not federal officials or employees. Yeah, we'll see about that. Unlike government commissions or advisory committees, we won't just write reports or cut ribbons. We'll cut costs. But it does go on to talk about the AI aspect.
And they would be unelected. Yeah,
they'd be bureaucrats, right? Yeah.
And they're both heavily invested in what sector of industry? Anyone?
Yep. The same tech that would be required to do this. So
the idea.
I'm trying to find the AI part here. They're talking about reducing staff, employee transitions, blah, blah, blah. Okay, this is too long. If you can find that part, Ruckus, you can read it, but I'm not going to read the whole thing.
It's all in there, kind of like mostly implied. The other weird thing that they're doing, because you mentioned podcasting, is that the two of them have a podcast now.
Yeah, Dogecast, right?
The Dogecast. Like, yeah, I'm sad to report everybody, because I know this is going to affect you, but Vivek Ramaswamy has made the decision to cancel. Vivek will no longer do his regular weekly podcast, and instead will be doing the Dogecast now with Elon Musk. That sucks, because I was a big fan of Vivek Ramaswamy's weekly podcast. I never miss it. No, I'm just kidding. I had no idea he did one, but yeah, there you have it.
Yeah, and what happened? I don't know. To throw this out there in that kind of like a curveball, but Matt Gaetz not being attorney general.
I
Yeah.
had that on my list too.
Yep.
How he pulled out of that, and what was the excuse there? Is like he didn't want to be a distraction because of ongoing investigations or whatever. I thought the investigations were already terminated.
They were.
but-
Same with that other guy. There were allegations, and there was not enough evidence to bring charges. And
Well, okay, so on the same topic is that looking at X again, because that's the ultimate source of truth, and anything that's there, it's got to be real.
it's all on
Well, it's looking at who voted against him, and there was like what 4 senators or whatever, and so that's the long play that they're saying is like, oh, to expose these these people who would vote against whatever kind of Trumpian dynasty was gonna come about.
Okay, so that's where because I wasn't like the 4D chess was above my pay grade. I was like, I don't get how this is 4D chess. So you're saying that they're saying that they used him to smoke out the never Trumper rhinos that wouldn't approve him. Gotcha. Okay.
That's well,
Yeah,
it's not me. It's not me. I'm looking just
no, I
at
get it.
X. I'm looking there and I'm seeing what they're saying. That's
Well,
it.
the 4D chess analysts out there, like it's like talking to, no offense, flat earthers. My mind's open. It's like talking to a flat earther, though. It's like they have an answer for everything. It's just like, well, what about the satellite that I programmed? I told it to go that high up. They're like, no, bro. Let me just explain this to you. This is, it's a fake out. You know what I mean? It's just like, oh, okay. Well, I got nothing there. You got me.
Psyops upon psyops.
Yeah, man. I just
upon
wanted to flush that
psyops.
one out. I actually I wanted to put it out there into the Twitter sphere, the atmosphere, whatever. Just to put it out there.
Yeah. No, I appreciate it because I don't understand it. I did not understand it walking into this. Like I was hesitant to even talk about it because I was like, I don't understand that. Like people are saying it's 4D chess. I don't see how it is, but okay, I understand it now. Questionable. I would say questionable, dubious.
Can I hit you guys with one last one, and then I swear I'm done?
All
But
right, bring it.
This one's pretty big. This is definitely a boiler room. Let's quick hit this one. It's Gates' new vaccine scheme. Everybody, holy
Bill,
shit!
to be precise, not Matt, right, Bill?
No, the other Gates. We went from one Gates to the second Gates. Bill Gates.
Yeah.
This one takes the effing cake, though.
Oops.
I mean, these people are insane. They think you're stupid, as our friend Tim would say.
Oh, this okay. This one's out of Children's Health Defense. It's not resolving yet for some reason. I've got a spinny beach ball on that tab. I don't know what's going on there.
Oh, and it's not just Bill Gates. It's our other friend, rich billionaire Jeff Bezos. We haven't heard him in a while.
Yeah, I saw his name there when you're in your note, but why is this not opening? What is going on here?
You're having issues today. They're
Yeah.
targeting you.
Yeah, I don't get it. I'm TI. I got TI status, everybody.
Well, we know cattle, methane, farts is a problem. So we figured, hey, why don't we look at vaccinating the cows to stop them from, releasing so much methane into the air?
Great.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah,
Klaus
this
Schwab
is-
talked
this
about
is a
that
good
in his
thing.
book on the Fourth Industrial Revolution.
It's not resolving for
Bioengineering
me either.
livestock to do those kind of things. Yep.
Oh my gosh. You guys, I saw what is children'shealthdefense.org under attack tonight? Maybe they're the ones under attack.
Perhaps.
That could very well be. It's not coming up, but we'll link it on the show page. Maybe they'll come back up. But I was watching something the other day. I think it was a rando video on YouTube, and they were showing how they set up this crazy, how when salmon do their thing in the rivers, they like go upstream when they're going to spawn and all that. Yes, the magic of nature. My goodness, isn't it wonderful? But they set up some like dorky. I don't know. I'll see if I can find the video and I'll put it on the show page so that you folks can watch it if I can find it in my history. It's a few days back, but they showed this like tube setup that they used so that they could jab, inoculate wild salmon that are, going up the river. And this tube, like, literally puts them in like one of those, air systems like you see at Costco or something like that, and shoots them up the waterfall. And then there's a little station at the top where they're poking all these fish just, in a in a natural river. They're jabbing them all. And I'm just sitting there going, are you kidding me? Like this is the kind of stuff that's going on. They're talking about messing with our food supply. Like, fine, you want to do that? Do it in your stupid, tilapia, like dirt factories that you have out there. These factory fish, if people want to eat factory fish that are, dyed with red number 5 and given, Myrna jabs and all this kind of stuff, fine. But don't go in the fucking river where people are fucking fishing and just to be jabbing up wild fucking fish. I mean, I was so pissed off after I watched this video. It's just like, it was one of those nights where I just like raged through the Apple remote at the wall and I was just like, I'm out. I'm fucking game over, man. This is bullshit.
But how do you feel about GMO mosquitoes, sir?
Same.
Oh, dude, GMO mosquitoes. We got that right here. I'm in Colombia. I'm 40 minutes outside of Medellin, Colombia. Bill Gates mosquito factory is just 40 minutes away. I can go there and visit. Hey, if you want to. Oh shit. I can go. Yeah, we can do a report on that. I mean, actually, I wrote to them a couple months ago. And they actually had to shut down, like on Google Maps where they were because they got so much shit.
People were mad.
Yeah. But it's right here. It's happening right here, 40 minutes from me. So yeah, I'll if you want to fund it, yeah, I'll go down there and let's do the shit. Yeah.
Of course people are mad. You're talking about putting genetically modified chimera insects into the skies that we can't. How the hell are we supposed to defend ourselves from that? Like, we just carry around off all the time and hope that off will like save you from getting, experimental gene therapies like floating around messing up your
actually,
DNA?
I heard the wellness company has a new skin lotion that you can wear. I'm just kidding, everybody. Sorry.
These are trying times. We got to stay well. All right, we got alternate source here. Bill Gates and Jeff Bezos push for climate vaccines in food supply. Oh my god. So Gates and Bezos are funding schemes that seek to fight global warming. I like how they put these things in quotes. Quote, global warming by using quote climate vaccines in the food supply. They're pushing plans to vaccinate livestock animals destined for human consumption to supposedly reduce methane emissions.
Yeah, I've got qualms with the source. What is it? This one is Slay News.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I Slay News, and then what's the other one? The People's Voice TV. I don't mean to rain on the parade, but I mean, okay, Slay News, at least they do pick out real information and truth. Other times, they have like completely plagiarized things I've written, and then put a little spin on it at the end to say something else.
Mm-hmm.
That's not to take away though that okay, there can be some truth in there, but I just had to put that out there that yeah.
No, I imagine they did the same thing here, and I only picked this because it was the only one I could find that actually had a version of the story. Because yeah, the Children's Health Defense one is just gone. So they probably it was probably on their radar. They probably saw Children's Health Defense. They probably spun it through an AI chatbot and got a story that they could throw up on their own website. This is how people do it.
And you know what?
Days.
A lot of times it's like 3/4, 3/4 like truth, and then they kind of spin a little thing. But okay, it's yeah. This is the beauty of free speech. You just you get to put information out there and put it against whatever other thing. But it's not like what the UN is trying to do, and all these pacts and things of trying to stamp out climate disinformation or whatever. Just no, it's great. give us this information, look at it, take it for what it is, and take it with a grain of salt.
Yeah, and maybe credit to Children's Health Defense because the rest of the website is up. I just checked, I pulled the rest of the post URL off and went to the homepage. The page works fine. So it could be that they realized what happened and pulled it down, realized they had been hit with some sort of clickbait. But that doesn't mean, especially if it's on Slay News and there's, legions of sites like this we come across
Oh
all
yeah,
the time.
and also with Children's Health Defense, I've been quoted on there multiple times,
Mhm.
like tons of times, and I'm really happy to contribute because, again, I'm I love just putting the information out there, and it's open to criticism like anything else.
Yeah,
It just when I was talking about just with Slay News and kind of putting to the people's voices that there's some kind of use your own discretion, of course, but I would never call it to censor or take it down.
right.
That's my point.
And that's one of the things that we talk about a lot here in the boiler room is just learning to become savvy enough on the internet to protect yourself from clickbait and from fake stuff. Not we were doing this way before fake news was ever made a mainstream term. Like the whole point was, hey, we're being propagandized to a lot, and the methods with which they use to do that to us are evolving and changing faster than we recognize. So, you just get, with enough experience, you get that sixth sense where it's like, okay, wait a minute, why is this taken down over here? Why is the headline so salacious? Why is it being promoted right now? What's the actual first source of this? Like, how many times has the headline and the byline been respun? Like that's a big question right there. So, little things we pick up and hopefully you out there that listen and view apply those to your media maniac life and somehow we got to
Ironically
navigate
enough,
all
there
this.
there are a lot of the same, if not the exact same things that the Brookings Institution and think tanks and the mainstream media says we need to practice when and use critical thinking when exploring social media. But what they're talking about is they don't want people like us. What we're saying is dangerous disinformation according to them. But their advice is not wrong. You should do the things that they're recommending, but they're really like their heart's in the right place, but their aim is totally off base, I think.
Yeah. And when their little fact checkers end up in court, like one of Zuckerberg's did recently, eventually they get to the point where they have to say, well, my fact checking is essentially an op-ed. It's an opinion piece. You know what I mean? Like when you really peel it all back through the legal system, there's not necessarily any facts among the fact checkers. And if there are, they're selective and or distorted.
Yeah, it's all about narrative control. That's what they're in the business of. Yeah, and like you said, when it comes to uh, legal action, they just bow down and like, oh no, what we said, we didn't really mean that. This is our opinion.
Right. Which is fine when they do it. But when Alex Jones is dragged into court and he has to say his defense has to be, I'm an entertainer, it's not okay. It's not enough. You owe us $1 billion. We're going to take your business. We're going to, take money from other people and take your business illegally. Like it's fun. This is fun times, man. This is going to be some interesting stuff coming up. All right, you guys, let's wind down. Tim, I'll go to you. Saved Rounds, final thoughts. Tell everybody where they can find you. And thank you for contributing here in the boiler room tonight. We look forward to doing this again.
Oh shit, man. Um, well, thank you. I had a blast tonight, and yeah, you can find me at on X at Tim Hinchcliffe, TimHinchliffe, and at the Sociable, and my writings are on sociable.co. And thank you so much for having me on. I had a blast.
Absolutely,
Yeah,
man.
thank you,
Thanks
Tim.
for joining us. Yep, we'll do it again real soon. I'll put your links on the show page and on the podcast. This will go out to podcast, so we'll tag you when we put that out there. Thanks so much once again for being here, man.
One love.
All right, there he goes. Okay, all his information will be on the show page. Ruckus, over to you. Saved Rounds, final thoughts.
Yeah, I really think we're moving swiftly to, how they were doing the same thing about trust the science, and then it was like the registered trademark symbol thing, right? The science. I think we're going to start hearing and seeing a lot of that same narrative talking about the truth. I think they're going to try to package a patented, trademark, registered thing symbol on the concept of the truth. And I think the truth is going to be some version of some agreed upon artificially intelligence powered consensus of what the truth is. And I think that's probably what we're going to see discussing. And there's going to be a great big battle. I mean, that's what I've been laying out on my series, this InfoWars on Daily Ruckus, is this battle for information. Because they say it's a battle against misinformation or against disinformation or sometimes against malinformation. But the thing that those all have in common is the information part. So it really is ultimately just a battle for control of information, control of the narrative, or what they will probably start labeling as the truth, registered trademark symbol. But that's just a supposition. I may or may not be able to actually get a Daily Ruckus done this week. I'm having some computer issues, so bear with me. If not, then I will definitely have a bunch of new ones headed your way next week. I'll just leave it to you there if I can get what I'm trying to get done. Basically, I need to get my new computer set up, everybody. But we'll see. Maybe I can get something busted out for tomorrow. In the meantime, I was thinking of doing some short, quick hits on my X, so make sure you're following me there. That's AC_wordslinger. There are links for all of that on the show pages and at alternatecurrentradio.com. So check it out. Thanks for having me, Hesher. God bless each and one of you, and may God save this republic. Ruckus out.
All right. Thanks, Ruckus. And thank you for joining us tonight out there on X, on Rumble, on Rockfin, on YouTube, on Spreaker. And if you're picking this up on a rebroadcast, a podcast, a live stream, whatever, thanks for checking out the show and hanging out till the end. The Technoctopus is what I'm going to call tonight's show. That really seems to fit. And yeah, we'll do it again real soon. Keep an eye on those doom scrolls, everybody. We don't know what's going to be popping off in the next couple hours, days, weeks, months. Who knows? Maybe just a slow march into the next phase of whatever we're going to be seeing here. But things do look a little bit dicey out there. So as they say in one of my favorite songs, keep the doors to your hearts open, but keep your guns cocked. We'll see you next time.
That's it. Go ahead and run. Run home and cry to mama.